Hey, I'm Amadeus, and this is Gay in Rural France, a podcast where I talk about queer life in the countryside, mental health, and everything in between. Let's get into it. Welcome back to the podcast, you guys, and welcome back to Lesignac and the French countryside, and to Gay in Rural France. Today, I wanted to talk about something that kind of has been going on in my mind for the past couple of days, which is the rise of the calm fluencer and just like being quiet. And also I think it also plays in with the myth of rural life, like we talked about last week, but also just like a take on life. And I think it's not, and it's a part of confession as well, from my perspective, from what I am starting to learn or starting to kind of feel in my other channel. And if you don't know, I have another channel, it's called Le Demi Chateau, and there I just share my life in rural France, and that is through usually weekly vlogs that happen there. So if you want, you can go check it out, it's in the description box below. But I think there's this certain pressure sometimes also, not to only like live slowly, live more consciously, but also to look peacefully and beautiful, intentional, calm, like everything, even though you're not. It's this weird new kind of form of keeping up appearances, I find. And I know this from Polish society, for example, where like my parents are Polish. I was born in Poland, raised in Germany, but I know that there is a lot like this. You keep up appearances, you don't want the neighbors to know this and that, you'd always want to appear like you've got your things together, your ducks in a row, although you haven't, or you don't want to be pretending that, or you want to be pretending that your son isn't gay and things like this. Well, I've been through that with my parents. Yay! But we're all fine. It's been a hot while. I mean, I outed myself, I think I was 15. So that is over 20 years ago. But yeah, I think that aesthetic stillness has become like a trend inside a niche. It's become a product, and I think it all comes full circle yet again once around to consumerism, capitalism, monetizing on something. People just like grab something and are like, oh, that's working, that's making me money, so I'm gonna make more of it, and I'm gonna influence other people to do that. And somehow it's defeating its purpose then. And I think we should all live more slowly, more curated, more peaceful. But what is the intention behind it? I'm asking myself. And it's I think we're getting sold sometimes a dream that is just not realistic. Life is not just baking your own bread, watching it rise, drinking coffee romantically on a little stool somewhere. It's just not. Life is not a never-ending vacation. I wish it would be. Don't get me wrong. I hope, and I'm all for romanticizing life, and I think we should all romanticize life, absolutely. But I think there is a fine line in between the romanticization of life and trying to find joy in the little things, and then forcing it, monetizing it, and yeah, just living off of it is, I don't know. I'm not sure. I think then we start to recreate something that is not necessarily the truth, and it's not something because we in ourselves think that should be it, but it's because someone else said that this is it, and this is how you should live, and this is how, we're just finding a new aesthetic, a new way to be aesthetic. And I find, I'm all about aesthetics, but I find it can be quite dangerous, and aesthetics in general is like trends. It's like it goes from here to there and it changes, and it can mess you up quite a bit. And especially as a gay man, I think it can, because growing up, I think, especially in my days, like I was I grew up in the 90s, and I'm a millennial, so born 87. So there was this beauty kind of aspiration, men had to be like muscular and ripped and really sexy, and I think that did something to me, that I needed to look like this, and I needed to be like this, and this was always like my dream, to be like muscular and lean and super sexy. And I think it wasn't until like ballet school where I realized for the first time that I ended up having anorexia, then a huge problem with body dysmorphia, which I still have until this very day. I've just learned to live with it, and there's days where it works. There's days where it doesn't work, and during COVID, it was really harsh on me, because I really buried my head in sports, and I was doing sports 4 hours a day basically, because you couldn't do art, basically I couldn't do my job. So what else do you want to do? I did like a full license for a fitness trainer, and I started just like training like crazy. I looked like amazing. I mean, I had a six-pack, I was lean, I was fit, and but I never felt it. I look at the photos now, and I think I got lost in the aesthetic of it all. Just to cut a long story short. And I think sometimes we then just do things for the wrong reasons. We do them for an aesthetic and not for our pleasure or for our benefit. And now I see sports more for something as a benefit. I love working out. I still do my workouts. I might not have a six-pack anymore. I mean, I still have a bit of muscle, but I mean, enough for I mean, is it enough? No, to be bluntly honest, yeah, I would like to be a bit more like bigger, buffer, but it's a process, and I have accepted that I need this process to just work for itself, and it's gonna be fine. And I think um, I think I don't need to perform something, I don't need to be something that I'm not, because I am what I am, and I am still on the way of loving myself for myself and accepting. And I think also coming from a background of dance and background of movement, your body is your instrument, and yes, I might have like a stronger kind of affinity to a certain look and aesthetic. But yeah, I find in gay culture, beauty oftentimes is a sort of performance, and I think also a performance to fit in, to really show society. But I am strong. I'm the strong man. I can be manly, and yeah, I know. I don't know. I've just let go of this whole manly thing. I find that very, very like toxic and not so good. But yeah. So I think that's what kind of happens right now with this whole calm niche, and with the whole like slow living niche. People are just like selling an aesthetic, and I think selling a non-realistic dream. I think it's all about, as content creators, yes, we are creating a dream, we're creating a world for others to live in, but I find it's really important to stay true to that. And I think people sometimes think like life in the countryside is really serene, and it is very calm and very reflective, but it's not. You still have to deal with everyday life. You still have to pay bills. You are surrounded by noise sometimes. Sometimes it's a lawnmower concert. Sometimes it's people make all kinds of noises. Sometimes cows cry all night. Yeah, and I think we're all, we all get tired, we all get stressed about money, we're all trying to get on with life. I'm trying to film videos while sometimes dog barks like crazy somewhere, or lawnmower is going off, and I'm just like standing there and I'm like, what is happening here right now? It's like I just wanted to do that and now I can't. uh, which doesn't make it less beautiful. It just is less filtered. And I think there's this thing that kind of, it all boils down to somewhere between art versus content creation, I find, and creating without losing yourself. And I did speak to another influencer, and we were talking about exactly this. How do you keep your own voice without like changing yourself too much? And there's a difference between creating what you really want, and I am still all about that, and creating for the algorithm. And I make this podcast for people and not for numbers. And I think there's a very fine line of abandoning yourself and abandoning what you feel is right, and abandoning also a certain truth about life, about your surroundings, about all the things that make us us. And I think that leads to a quiet burnout. I think lots of these people who are in those niches that sell you this kind of like countryside dream, or even just like calm serenity, whatever. I think these people are also on a quiet burnout, and because they're performing something, there's and I have a quite good quote here. There's a kind of fatigue that comes not from chaos, but from trying to hold a calm pose for too long. And that is so unbelievably true. I just find that this hits this topic, and that even serenity can become work when it's constantly displayed. And I think there's so many facets to all of our lives, and I'm not sure if pretending is something that you want to do, or is it worth burning out over it? I'm asking myself very personally, and I think that's kind of like the question that I was asking myself, whether I wanted to just continue putting out content, doing things, doing the podcast, newsletter, 2 YouTube channels, blah blah blah, all these things, while I'm talking about calm and serenity and the countryside life, and while I'm actually burning out because I can't manage all of these things. And I think, no, I don't want to do that. I want to keep my sanity. I want to be focused. I want to prepare. I don't want to have to rush things. Usually when I prepare the podcast, I sit down and kind of like bounce ideas. I kind of do my research, and then I write it all down into my little support cards that I have, and where I can actually have a look at them, and they guide me through me talking about a topic. So, long story short, I have decided to cut down the podcast to 2 times a month, and then taking a summer hiatus, just to revisit new ideas and to make a bit more like a season. So we'll have a spring summer season, we'll have an autumn winter season, and then in between, like the kind of like the height of summer and the height of Christmas and New Year's, we'll take a short break, these both times, to like catch our breaths, you and me, and just keep going on. And I think for a long time I thought like, oh, but if I lose those threads in my hands, if I let go, then I will lose everything. But I think it's not quitting, it's just wanting this whole thing to mean something, and not producing for producing sakes. It's it's a personal brand, yes, but it's also my life. So yeah, that's kind of the decision I took for myself regarding all of this, and reflecting on all of this. And maybe you guys have felt the same way, that you felt pressure to appear peaceful even when you're not. Or maybe, I think there's also like this weird societal kind of idea that we should now remain calm at all situations, and that calm should become calm has become such an industry, you know. For heaven's sake, there's an app called Calm, you know? And I'm all about slow living. I'm all about rural living, absolutely. But for what price? And I don't know. I don't know if we're not selling something that isn't true, you know? And I would not wish. I don't want to live in a world like this, I have to say, that monetizes on every idea and capitalizes everything. It's a bit sad and empty, I find. Um, yeah, yeah, and I think we should remind each other that peace doesn't have to be photogenic to be real. You know, it just exists within us. Sometimes even, you know, even when there's a turmoil inside of us. So thank you for showing up for the podcast, and I hope I gave you some more food for thought this time around. It's a bit shorter than the other podcasts, but I really wanted to address this topic with you. I hope that you enjoyed that, and I think I had someone reaching out in the comments who said like, "Oh, your house looks so nice. You should do a house tour." So I'm gonna leave a link in the description box below for a house tour of 2023 on my other channel. Also, be free to hop onto my other channel and discover more kind of life in France, and in a more aesthetic captured kind of way, and in a vlog style way. So if you'd like that, then hop on to that other channel, subscribe to this channel if you've liked it, and I shall see you all now, not next week, but in 2 weeks for another episode of the podcast. Thank you so much for listening or watching, and yeah, let's all be messy and grateful, and acknowledge that we'll always be still learning until the end of our days. Until then, bisous et au revoir. Bye!